Question: who is the #1 most favorited anime character on myanimelist.net? And he is also, coincidentally, the subject of this video for, well, reasons pretty much. He's a bona fide prince of Britannia and kind of an ass to boot, but he is somehow incredibly loved by the anime community in general. So give it up for my boy Lelouch. Oh god, sorry. I totally meant to say Lelouch. This was totally not scripted in the slightest. I am so sorry. So I doubt I really have to explain this, but I do this in every video like this for the few people who might not know about the character in question. So let's do a very short, like abridged version of the backstory of Lelouch to get in the mood of the video. Lelouch from Britannia is the 11th prince of the Holy Britannian Empire and the son of the 98th Emperor of Britannia, Charles Z. Britannia. He was exiled at a young age as a political hostage after pissing off his daddy a teeny tiny tad too much. Whilst in Japan, he meets Suzuka, with whom he would unknowingly share a large part of his life in the future. No homo. Eventually, news of his mother's death reaches his ears, as well as his homeland invading Japan for control of the Sakura-dyed mines. Fearing for the safety of both himself and his sister who still resides in Britannia, Lelouch assumes the identity of Zero, a revolutionary figurehead that wants to oppose the powerful individuals who oppress the weak. Initially, Lelouch is very much motivated by the desire to avenge his mother's death and construct an ideal world of sorts where his sister can live in peace. But his goals slowly change over time. Okay, so powers, right? Let's get the obvious part out of the way. Lelouch looks like a goddamn pool noodle, and in turn, he also hits like a wet noodle. This man has no muscle whatsoever. He is not beating anyone in Dragon Ball through a fist fight. Like, I mean, look at the guy, come on now. If we actually had to label his physical power in terms of power levels, he would be like, I don't know, a 2 max? Like, I refuse to give this guy anything higher than a 2 when it comes to power levels. The farmer with a shotgun from episode 1 of Dragon Ball Z just absolutely slam dunks on this guy without even having to touch his shotgun to begin with. But like many other guys we have done videos like this one on, physical power is not everything when it comes to fighting. And Lelouch is no exception to this rule. You see, Lelouch fights through actual tactical military warfare and the use of his Geass ability. So what is a Geass? Good question. Lelouch obtained his Geass from C2, also known as the Immortal Witch, yada yada yada, but a Geass is a supernatural power that manifests differently for each individual which possesses a Geass. It is speculated that a user's Geass manifests an ability in accordance with their inner desires and personality, but as far as I'm aware, this is never officially confirmed, but it is kind of implied, because the abilities do suit the user pretty well with the goals they're trying to accomplish, so it's not a bad theory at all. But a Geass also gets more powerful with each use, and this sounds really cool, but just hold back on Kuming for 5 seconds. The Geass increases in power each time, sure, but if the user's willpower is unable to handle the increased power of the Geass will actually consume the user and it will essentially just backfire. So what type of Geass does Lelouch have? Lelouch has a Geass which gives him the power of absolute obedience. This translates into him being able to order someone to do pretty much anything he commands them to do without fail. Or so I would love to say, but there are certain conditions that need to be met for the ability to actually work. For starters, Lelouch needs his enemies to make direct eye contact with him. They also need to be within a maximum range of 272 meters from Lelouch for his ability to be able to be used. The Geass will also work if Lelouch has eye contact with someone through a reflective surface. The commands he gives to the victims need to be issued verbally, and his commands only affect the victim's nervous system. I often hear people say that he has mind control powers, but that is, in my opinion at least, just straight up wrong, because he does not control the victim's mind. He literally implants instructions into the victim's nervous system, which they are just literally forced to carry out. But not every command will work. For example, if Lelouch were to order an ordinary citizen to take Goku out, the random citizen with a power level of 1 would obviously not be able to carry this order out. The citizen would however try his best to direct Lelouch to a person that can carry out the order. So in a weird like cosmic way, the victim will try their very best to execute the order, even if it's physically impossible for them. They will try to find some alternative method that they would be able to use to actually carry out the order. But he also has to be very specific with his his wording. For example, ordering someone to shoot someone else is not the same as ordering someone to delete someone else. The result can differ drastically with just one tiny little word difference. There's also the fact that any order given by Lelouch will remain with the target until it is carried out. This could take years and years, but unless the order is carried out, it will remain active. And I will note here that even though I say this, there has not been an upper limit or something like a confirmed upper limit of time a Geass stays active. I believe the longest we've seen it in the show is a couple of years, but it was still active even then. So it is heavily implied that even though maybe 20 years have passed, the order will still be active. So the subject will still try to carry out that order even if it's a zillion years later, for example. And even though some people might be able to resist a command for a certain amount of time, if the command truly conflicts with their moral standards, they will eventually submit to it whether they like it or not. He also has a code of immortality, but the funny thing is we don't actually know if he is truly immortal or not. Due to complicated writing, pretty much, Lelouch wound up in a unique situation where he has no one to really compare a situation to in the same universe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but in Lelouch of the Resurrection, he obtains a power which might, and pay attention to that, it might have made him immortal. But even he himself states that he really has no idea if he is immortal or not, and he just might drop dead whenever, pretty much. Alright, so placing him against Dragon Ball. I don't think I have to explain that his powers are very strong on paper. If the conditions are met, he can theoretically beat everyone. No contest even. But that's just it. Those pesky little conditions. Allow me to give you at least 5 examples of how he has no chance of beating Dragon Ball in the slightest. Starting at number 1, characters can just close their eyes and rely on sensing his location through ki. He can't use his Geass on them if they have their eyes closed because, if you remember correctly, he needs to have direct eye contact with the victim. And number 2, they can stay out of his reach, like if they stay more than 272 meters away from him and just snipe him, he can't use his Geass on people outside of his range, so he's just a sitting duck waiting to get pretty much destroyed, like no contest. And number 3, they can literally just rush him. His commands need to be uttered verbally whilst retaining eye contact, and I will bet my left nut on the fact that his eyes will not be able to follow any of Dragon Ball's fighters if they just rush him. And number 4, they can imprison him in the room of spirit and time where he can't use his powers on the other humans. Like, even if he is immortal, this beats him because no humans to abuse, like it's just him there. And then you have number 5, they can use the evil containment wave on him because some people might disagree with me, but I don't think he's a good guy per se. So whether he's immortal or not, once again, he just straight up loses to this one. And there are probably many more scenarios like this one where he just gets absolutely crushed, but my stance in this matter is that yes, his powers are very broken, but the restrictions he has on them just completely ruin his chances of beating even someone like, say, I don't know, King Chopper, Hampoot, Ranfan, Num. Like, the list goes on and on. Sure, he might catch some guys by surprise and give them a command through his Geass, but it's only a matter of time before the stronger people figure out how to counter it, and at that moment, he just straight up loses. Like, he has a very strong power, but it is just so ill-suited for actual physical fighters like the ones in Dragon Ball. And in light of these facts, I really can't place him anywhere else than the bottom, just lowest tier. I am probably pissing off the entire Code Geass fandom here, but I don't know, man. I don't see how he would be able to beat even the earliest fighters in the world tournaments. Like, the moment he starts speaking and the moment his eyes activate, like, one of the guys will just realize, like, oh shit, this is probably something I should avoid. And he just moves out of the way, closes his eyes, rushes him, just, I don't see it. Like, I really do like his type of ability because it's an ability that's not really powerful in the sense of actual, like, physical power. And I quite like those abilities because, you know, being into Dragon Ball, it's oftentimes, oh, punch this, oh, energy beam this, like, oh, power. Whilst the more so, like, mind control, or in this case, literally, like, implanting stuff on people's nervous systems, they're super interesting abilities, but in this case, I just don't think it would really help him in the slightest, which does suck because I do think he's a very interesting character to compare to other anime series, but he's just very ill-suited for Dragon Ball. Like, that's really all I can say, and if you don't agree with me, be sure to let me know because maybe I missed something really obvious that would make his ability much more powerful in Dragon Ball where you could just use it much more easily. But what do you guys think about this result? Do you think I gave Lelouch a fair game, or did I completely screw the pooch on this one? Like, who actually knows, because I sure as hell don't. But be sure to let me know what what you guys think in the comments down below. But with all that being said, my friends, thank you all so much for taking the time out of your day to watch my videos. As per usual, it really means a lot to me, much more than you probably think. And if you liked today's video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to never miss another video ever again. Work hard, study well, and eat and sleep plenty, and I will see you all again in the next video. Peace out.